About 2 years ago, time really flies, Wonder Artistic Models produced what I felt was an overdue product, the humanoids, stand-up humans in different scales but the same aesthetic. I reviewed this on my channel and I explained why this is such a cool product. As many dinosaur collectors have experienced, it's easy to find human models in the 1:35 or 1:40 scale. Because my current favorite is 1:35, for a couple of years I had these trusty sidekicks for that purpose. The trick is first finding figures in the other scales we often find in dinosaur models. And second, even if you found them, having them in the same aesthetic so you don't have a jumbled mess of humans distracting from the visuals of the collection. The Wonder Artistic Models Humanoids solve both problems nicely. Now these are based on the same 1.75 meter or 5'8" tall human. To recap, here are some uses of scale humanoids like this. First, appreciate size relationships. A really fascinating aspect of dinosaurs is the wide variety of sizes, and it's natural to want to get a clearer picture of these sizes in comparison to ourselves. I want to know how awesome, not to mention dangerous, it might be standing next to a T-Rex or a Triceratops. When I read that a Diplodocus could be around 26 meters or 85 feet and up, it's hard to visualize what that number means in real terms. But here I see how far I'd have to walk to go from nose to tail. It also helps us appreciate the relative sizes within a superclade. For example, sauropods are generally considered big, but some are comparatively small, like the Dicraeosaurids. If we compare Giraffatitan next to a Margosaurus, we certainly see this, but in perspective, we realize that even a small sauropod would be huge to come face to face with. And for those of us younger ones who might have eyes only for the titanosaurs, it's important to remember that even OGs like Apatosaurus are still worthy of plenty of respect and awe. And even small dinosaurs like Nanotyrannus here would be plenty dangerous. 2. Bringing order. Now some people collect only in one scale because mixed scales are messy. Now I don't like mess either, but I feel it's a pity to miss out on some good models by sticking to just one scale. So one idea I sometimes use is cluster similar scales together. For example, I think that these ones are close to 1:35, 1:30, and 1:40. And then on the shelf, I add context to each cluster by signposting with the right scale humanoid. You can see some method now to the madness of mixed scales on the shelf. A third use is in helping to right size a model, or should I say, to right scale it. And this is a good place to introduce you to version 2 of the humanoids. Now, some products are so good that future revisits just seem to be milking more from the same pool while adding nothing of value, or even worse. Examples are the Star Wars sequels, Total Recall 2, except for Jessica Biel and Kate Beckinsale in one movie, your latest smartphone, or Windows 11. The new version of Humanoids, however, is a rare sequel that actually improves on the original. The original came with 8 different scales, 1:10, 1:15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 1:50, based on a human that's 1.75 meters or 5 feet 8 inches tall. However, what we often see are models that don't quite fit into these neat scales. For example, consider the Rebor Tyrannosaurus. Now what scale is it exactly? I thought it was too big for the declared 1:35, while some of you argued passionately for that. Another example, I thought that the Haolonggu Pachyrhinosaurus seemed too big for 1:35. but the closest I had to show you was the 1:30 humanoid. The Haolonggu Ankylosaurus I thought was 1:33 and could only bracket between 1:30 and 1:35. Well, no longer. The new humanoid set now gives you some of those odd in-between scales, adding to the original set 1:28, 1:33, and 1:37. It also gives you 1:45, 1:55, and 1:60. So, instead of the original 8 scales, you get some of those important in-between odd scales, for a total of 14 scales. If you're interested to see how the scales change if you choose a reference person of different heights, Wonder Artistic Models gives you this convenient table. You'll also see some bonuses, which I'll show you more of later. Now this is a nice view to illustrate that the larger the scale, the more dramatic the difference as you move 5 scales apart. But at smaller scales, the difference is a lot less. Now this is important because it might be easy to think that 1:25, 1:30, and 1:35 look close, but the difference is made real in these humanoids because you realize it's not just simple length differences, but an overall difference in 3 dimensions. And this is really exciting for me. There's now a lot more flexibility in showing different odd scales that don't fit the usual increments of 5. Another really exciting use is in trying to figure out what scale a model is. If you want a quick idea, instead of guesstimates or onerous measurements, it's an easy matter to have a model in front of you and then just mix and match the different sized humanoids until one looks right. For example, going back to the reborn T-Rex, the claim scale is 1:35. The next reference I had was 1:30. Now let's say I believe it's in between at 1:33. I now have that. Some of you thought it was even bigger, so we also have 1:28. And because each humanoid scales 3-dimensionally, it's clearer to visualize. And using them, you can decide which is closest to your preferred reference. And for the Haolonggu Edmontonia, instead of limited bracketing between 1:35 and 1:40, I also have the 1:37. You can also make your own decision here. And also the latest Camarasaurus from PNSO. Now, knowing that different species have different size estimates, by using various humanoids, you can decide if this is your preferred species, if it's 1:35, or simply use a different scale. Now remember, of course, there can be a range of sizes for each animal, and you don't necessarily always have to take the maximum size. The newer, smaller scales are very useful as well. In my first review, I wished there'd been a 1:45 scale, since PNSO seemed to favor this scale for their gargantuan species, such as Mamencisaurus, and here you start to see the real size of it. As well as the Himalayasaurus. The Leviathan I thought was 1:40, but some of you thought it was too small for that. Well, guess what? Here's the 1:45 again, for you to decide if it's too small to 1:40. Perhaps in the next iteration, Wonder Artistic Models can give us some swimming humans. And I can't help but mention quickly an obvious use case in the recent excellent though minuscule PNSO Alamosaurus. This I estimated to be roughly 1:55, which just happens to be one of the new scale humanoids in this set. Again, agree or not, you can mix and match with each humanoid until you find one that you think looks right. Then that's the scale you can take, regardless of what I or anyone else says. Helping to right scale an animal, even without exact measurements, is very useful, if you know it well enough. For example, here's the PNSO and Kylosaurus, which I at first thought was okay for 1 to 35, but which I now agree is too big. And by switching out various humanoids, you can see which one looks right. 1 to 33, 1 to 30, or even 1 to 28. Now, right scaling would have saved me disappointment when I finally realized that not all the collectae of Din1 Studios 1 to 20 prehistoric mammals were true to scale. So the Din1 Didicurus might be a bit too big for 1 to 20, as is perhaps the Platybelodon, but the Sagotetrabelodon is definitely too small. On the other hand, it's nice to see that the claimed 1 to 35 for Eofaunus Dinotherium seems to be in the ballpark. And for lines without declared scales, such as Collectae's extant animal models, this set will help you quickly estimate what scale your models are. From Collectae, here's the giant anteater, when I can quickly use the 1 to 25, 1 to 20, and then 1 to 15, which I think looks the closest. And one of my favorite bovids, the Alpine Ibex, which I quickly estimate with the 1 to 25 that it's too big for that, the 1 to 20, and figure it somewhere between 1 to 20 and 1 to 15. Now I've looked for a 1 to 35 elephant to use as a size comparator, and finally I found a possibility in the Collectae African bush elephant. And yes, I think it is quite close. The whale shark has a wide range of size estimates, but having a few of these smaller scales helps you decide, for example, between 1 to 50, which was the previous limit, and a new additional 1 to 55 and 1 to 60. And finally, for dragon lovers, you can use these humanoids for a rough scale estimate as well. So here, for example, taking the reference from Team Darkside's estimate, the creator's model Raytheon seems to be about 1 to 50 to 1 to 55 scale. And using nameless Seraph's estimates, the Gaiacrus seems to be roughly 1 to 60. And finally, Zinogre, roughly 1 to 45 to 1 to 50 scale. To end off, there are some nice additions to the Humanoids 2 set as well. I've often been amused by artists who deviate from the usual human in neutral or anatomical position. For example, Gunnar Bivens has used various colourful characters as human scale references, and even Wonder Artistic Models' own reference figures use more interesting subjects such as children and pets. Well, you get that here. You get in 1 to 35, 1 to 25 and 1 to 20 a walking humanoid, which is nice to use against a very long animal like the Diplodocus, a dog, a cat, and an adult humanoid with a child, which is especially nice when teaching your children about these magnificent animals and helping them visualize sizes. You also get a family with pets in the 1 to 20 scale. So while the main attraction are the odd in-between scales, it's nice to have more variety as bonuses as well. So that's it for the Wonder Artistic Models Humanoids version 2 set. Wonder Artistic Models has improved and expanded on an already great product, one which is extremely useful to collectors. I'll definitely be using all the new options in upcoming reviews, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next. Let me know what you think, and who knows, if you have any models which scale you're not sure of, I might compile a video of some of these models against some humanoids, provided I have them. Till then, I'll see you in the next video.